I first met Trevor in my freshman history class. He sat directly behind me and he didn't talk much. But one day, we had to pair up for an in-class activity, and he was the only person I saw who didn't immediately turn to someone else. As we got to talking, it turned out we both had a lot in common. We both liked board games, we were both good students, and we both wanted to major in philosophy but decided on something in engineering for our job prospects. That said, our first meeting was also the last time that we talked that year. We exchanged numbers, but we never kept in touch, and there were no more in-class activities to pair up on. A year later, I decided I wanted to move out of the dorms and into an off-campus apartment. I needed roommates, but I was bad at making friends and I didn't know who to ask. On a whim, I threw a text over to Trevor. "Hey, do you need a place to stay next year? I want to move off campus and I need some roommates." Within minutes he replied, "Actually, yes. How many do you need? I have 3 more." Trevor, me, plus 3 others made 5, which was a bit much. All the houses I'd been looking at only had 3 or 4 bedrooms. I don't know, man. 5 is a bit much. I only see places with 4 bedrooms. He replied instantly, "4 is fine." I know it was a little risky to sign a lease with roommates I never met, but the housing market in my college town is drying up and I wasn't too worried. Worst case, we would split up after a year. They were so hands-off with the whole process that they said I was free to pick any house I wanted without their approval, so long as it had 4 bedrooms and 3+ bathrooms and a basement. That was easy to find, and we ended up getting a good deal on a house surprisingly close to campus. At first, I was worried about finding a house with bedrooms big enough that 2 of them could share, but Trevor told me that actually only he and 2 others would be signing the lease. I figured the last person had just dropped out. We all moved in a week before the fall semester started, and at first I was happy with how everything was turning out. Trevor and his friends, Brian and Nat, all seemed cool enough. Apparently, they were all friends from high school, and they were all from the same small town called Fedham up in Maine. They brought in a lot of furniture and supplies, so I didn't have to spend too much of my own money furnishing the home. It wasn't long before they started to annoy me though. At first it was stuff so small that I felt guilty for carrying it all. Like how none of them ever untied their laces and instead just jammed their feet in whenever they wanted to put their shoes on. But then they started to do things that actually affected me. Like refusing to wash dishes by hand and instead just letting them pile up until they had enough for a dishwasher load. I constantly had to wash their plates and glasses, so I had a clean one to use for myself. And then they started turning the heat on and setting it to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. It was almost winter and I had to keep my bedroom window open just to cool things down so I could sleep at night. Anytime I would approach them about those things, they had some sort of justification or comeback to dismiss my complaint. For the dishes, they said, "Why would you wash dishes individually when you have a dishwasher right there? You'd have to be stupid to waste time washing dishes by hand." And for the temperature, the human body temperature is 98 degrees. 10 degrees colder is plenty cold. You just said yourself that you can always open up your window if you get too warm. If you hate it so much, just go live in the basement. It's colder down there. Even the one time that I jokingly poked fun at their tied laces, Trevor fired back. "Why would you waste time tying and untying? I don't know anybody except you who does that." As annoying as that all was, what annoyed me the most by far was how much they locked the front door. I grew up in a family that never locked the door during the day. Trevor and his friends must have grown up in a rough neighborhood or something, because they would lock the door at any and every opportunity, no matter who was home or what time of the day it was. I would go out for a quick run at 5:30 and come back at 6 p.m. to find the door locked, even though everybody else was home the entire time. Sometimes I would wander outside during a phone call, only to find the door locked 10 minutes later when I tried to come back inside. Sometimes they would even lock the door when I thought they were asleep. Like one time when I walked to the grocery store at 2 a.m. and I came back to find it locked and everyone sleeping. I had to climb through my bedroom window to get back inside. I asked Trevor if we could avoid locking the door during the day when other people were home. and as usual, he wasn't receptive. Dude, it's not our fault that you don't bring your key with you when you go out. We don't want people coming in and stealing our shit. You didn't buy anything here, so it's not really your call. And if you get locked out, you can just come in through the basement. That door is usually open. All you do is complain about other people, but you can't solve this problem yourself. There was no way in hell I wanted to come in through the basement. I checked it out right when we moved in, and I found it filled with spiders and webs, and I avoided it ever since. Instead, I just started going out of my way to keep my keys with me, even when only stepping out for a few minutes. And then one night, I was bringing in groceries in my car. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter and I went back out for the last few bags. I carried the bags back to the house, turned the door handle and then pushed. It was locked. I was out for 50 seconds. They saw me bringing in groceries and they locked the door. And they were doing this on purpose. I went to push in my bedroom window and it was locked shut too. They went into my room, I guess. Pissed out of my mind, I went down the steps on the side of our house and opened the basement door. The basement was pitch black, so I put down one of my bags of groceries and I pulled out my phone to use as a light. I closed the door behind me and I made my way to the stairs back up to the house, dodging the webs hanging from the ceiling. I reached for the knob, twisted and pushed. It wouldn't open. The fucking basement door was locked too, just like the rest of the house. I was ready to break down some windows, so I turned back and I stomped on the steps to go back outside. And that's when I saw that the door to the outside wasn't as I expected it to be. It had no handle or knob. Its windows were boarded up and the door was reinforced with metal plating all over its surface. I was locked in. Then in my peripheral vision, I saw something in the corner of the room that I hadn't noticed when I came in. I turned my light to it, and then I dropped my phone immediately as I jumped back in horror. In the corner of the room was a large, hunched-over, troll-like man. His back bulged and humped high, forcing his arms and head near to the ground like he was prostrated on all fours. The rest of his body was hard to make out, because of his thick black hair fell from his scalp to the floor, obscuring my view of his figure and most of his face. His hair parted over his left side, and I saw a single, oversized vacant eye staring back at me. What the hell? I screamed and I ran back up the stairs to the door and banged on it frantically. Let me out! There's something really freaking crazy down here, and you need to open the door right now. I tried punching and kicking the door, but the wood was thick, and it was hard to get solid footing with the stairs right behind me. I was relieved when I heard Trevor respond, and at first his voice was reassuringly calm. Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to do you a favor and let you back in? Is this yet another thing you're unhappy with and you're complaining about? No, I think it's fine that you stay there. It's your own fault. I told you to bring your keys. And then he was gone, and I realized that I was trapped, and I collapsed around the steps in terror, not knowing what to do. And then I realized that I had my phone and I could call someone. I crept back down the stairs, and my phone was still on the ground, its built-in LED still shining up towards the ceiling. The abomination in the corner hadn't budged an inch, but now its eye was pointed at the stairs, watching me once again. I slowly crawled to my phone, picked it up and made my way back up to the top of the stairs, making as little noise as possible. And then I tried to dial 911. Nothing. My phone had absolutely zero reception or internet service there in the basement. I was completely petrified. I tried calling over and over, but nothing ever went through. I sat there, completely still for hours. The spiders alone freaked me out, as I could see them hanging in the webs near me. But then there was that creature down there, just a few meters away, around the corner of the stairs and out of sight. And then I heard him move. Small thuds and a wet slapping sound fueled my fear as he made his way across the room. He approached the bags of food that I had dropped on the ground and I heard the crinkling of wrappers and the sounds of him eating. He finished and I prayed that he would go back to his corner as I heard him move again. But then at the bottom of the stairs, I saw his hand, and then his hair and his arm, and his big empty eye, as he crawled up to me. I got more and more frantic as he came close. And when he was within reach, I started flailing my legs and kicking him as hard as I could. And my feet didn't do much to slow him down, and eventually he grabbed one of my legs. I tried kicking him off, but he held on tight, and then he brought his hairy lump of a head to my shin and I felt him bite down. I screamed as loudly as I could, partially out of pain but mostly out of sheer terror and the hope that maybe somebody would hear me. I kicked as wildly as I could, and then in a last-ditch effort, aimed my heel right at the big eye staring up at me from my other leg. Aiming for the eye was more effective than I thought it would be. I felt a big squish as I pushed my shoe into his head, and then pressed in as hard as I could. The monster let out a wet, gargly grunt and he slowly retreated backwards, down the stairs and out of sight. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know if Trevor is going to let me upstairs, or if that thing is going to come back. My phone is going to die sometime tonight, so I'm recording this now in the hope that maybe somebody will find this. And if I leave this place somehow, maybe they can look for me and save me. I've given as much background on Trevor and his friends as I know so police can find them and maybe find me. But really, I don't expect to be found. I'm so scared. I was hoping that I could distract myself a little by telling the story of how I got here, but now it's hitting me that I'm trapped and I don't have a way out. I guess I'm done talking for now. The above is a transcription of a voice memo on a phone that I found in my new house's basement. The previous owner said that he had 4 tenants renting his property, but they just abandoned the house in December and left it in terrible condition. The upstairs walls and floors were covered in filth and grime, with spoiled food left everywhere, and the basement looked and smelled like it was smeared with dirt and feces. The owner was about to retire, and so he sold the house at a heavy discount just to be done with it. I purchased the property hoping to clean up and flip it for a nice profit, and while renovating the basement, I found a phone shoved into the insulation in the walls. The phone had no passkey and the home screen showed only the voice memo app. This was the only message recorded in that app. I turned the phone into the police and they said that they were already investigating this, but that they haven't been able to find any leads. Not only is the owner of the phone missing, but so are both of his parents. There are records at the school that Trevor attended, but apparently he withdrew his enrollments after his very first semester and hadn't been seen since. None of the Bryans or Nathaniels attending the school ever seem to have been involved with Trevor or the house. If anyone has information, please contact me or the police.